Once upon a time, people introduced themselves. They would say their name, and then they would say their father's name. So it was like, I'm Yankel ben Moshe. Back in the shtetl, people would introduce them. They would say, be like, oh, hi, I'm Rivka, the shoemaker's wife. Or I'm Rachel, the baker's daughter. Today's day, when people introduce themselves, it sounds a little different. It might sound like, I'm Rivki, Enneagram 4, anxious attachment style. I'm working on boundaries. Or like, hi, I'm Leah. I am a recovering codependent. And, like doing the work, the inner work. Or maybe it might sound like, I'm Leah, and I used to be a people pleaser. And now I'm recovering from my last recovery retreat. Or I'm Alki, and I'm an inner child specialist. We won't discuss the outer adult child. That might be a little messy, but we're working on it. I mean, seriously, everyone's working on their inner child. And sometimes I think, like, my inner child, I don't think she wants to go to therapy. I think she just wants a lot of Hello Kitty Band-Aids. Like, even she can use them even for the boo-boos that don't bleed. She wants definitely like that big 64 box of Crayola crayons that comes with a sharpener inside. She wants to be pushed on a swing nonstop and I think fall asleep in the back seat and then magically wake up in bed the next morning. Also, I think she wants to wear a berela. Anyone who knows what a berela is? Anyone else, or just our family called it a berela? A berela is not like a stuffed teddy bear. It's when you turn into a stuffed teddy bear. It's like this kind of like a onesie, fleece pajamas with a little snap here, like the zipper. Anyways, hi, I'm Leah. My pronouns are healing and exhausted. I mean, seriously, we could stand and make fun all day because our generation is very into healing. But in all seriousness, I know I made fun of it, but in all seriousness, it can sound like a modern idea, modern psychology, trendy hype. But what I'm here to say is that really, this is not some cool, hip thing. It's timeless Torah truths. This is what we were sent down to do here. And I'm not advocating for any specific modality. I'm talking about just in general being here on this world and just trying to be the best we can be. And when we have certain stuff blocking, that just keeps us back. We can't thrive when our inner world is turmoil. And that comes from like unprocessed emotions a lot of times. We know that Chazal, the Baal Shem Tov, the Alter Rebbe, they all spoke about avodah pnimis. Avodah pnimis, like inner work. It sounds, that's why, by the way, why I hate certain words. I hate like mental health, self-care, self-love. I hate these words even though I use them because I feel like they give off like a little bit of like a secular pop psychology kind of vibe. And I don't think that's the truth. I think that like a healthy mental health comes from a healthy sense of self. And where does the healthy sense of self come from? When we know who we are. Who are we? We're a chaylik Elokai mimal mamish. And when we know that, the Baal Shem Tov says that the true avodah starts when we know ourselves. This is what it means to know ourselves. I remember Shabbos used to be torture for me. I know I'm known for like the Shabbos kind of like, the first 2 books that I published were Shabbos books. It's called Lekovat Shabbos Kodesh. Lifestyle books, recipes, also how to prepare for Shabbos, really be able to like tune into the Kedusha. But Shabbos used to be torture for me. I'll never forget. I just remember all Shabbos just standing next to the mirror. I'm so fat. I'm so fat. What's going to be with me? I'm starting a diet. But last Shabbos I said I was starting a diet and I didn't start a diet. So what's going to be? And I just finished the diet. I just didn't work out. What is going to be? Everything came up on Shabbos. All my problems. It was just torture. Rabbi Abraham Twersky, Ulav Shulam, may you rest in peace. In the introduction to his book, Life's Too Short, he shares this amazing story that really stuck with me ever since I read it. In 1965, he was a director of a psychiatric ward in one of the major psychiatric hospitals. It wasn't a ward, it was a hospital actually. And this hospital served a population of over 3 million. Plus, It was an admitting service for 2 major state hospitals, and they also had over 300 psychiatric patients. So there was a lot of demands on his time, on his energy. He was working day, he was working night, and at one point he just needed a break. He was plotting, he just wanted to get away, and he was trying to figure out where can he go on vacation. He knew he doesn't want to go to Disney World. He doesn't need to be entertained. He just wants peace and quiet, and he wants to be out of reach of the telephone. Nobody should be able to contact him. Not the patients, not the family of the patients, not the nurses, not the doctors, nobody. So somebody told him about Hot Springs, Arkansas, and that sounded very tempting. They had these like treatments and the hot mineral bath, and he thought maybe it might be good for his chronic backache that he was suffering from, and it just sounded wonderful. He arrives to this vacation, and first day, goes into the spa, and there's this little cubicle and this hot mineral bath, and he gets into the bath, and it's just paradise. The warm, swirling waters, and not just does it feel good, but he's totally out of reach from anyone. Nobody can contact him. Not the nurses, not the emergency room, not the patients, not the family patients, nobody. This is just what I needed. After 6 or 7 minutes of this heaven on earth, gets out of the bath, walks out, and tells the attendant, this was amazing. This was paradise. This was just what I needed. The attendant tells him, this treatment starts with 25 minutes in the bath. You need to go back into the bath. Like, it's just 6, 7 minutes. You have to go back. It's 25 minutes, and then we resume. It was like a whole treatment. So he gets back into the bath. After 5 minutes, he gets out. He's like, it was enough. It's enough. And the attendant tells him, we cannot continue this treatment if you don't sit for 25 minutes in the bath. He gets back in there, and it is just takes an eternity. It is torture. He's sitting there looking at the hands of the clock, doesn't know what to do with himself. What should he think about? Where should he look? It's mamish, barely tolerable. The last 10 minutes were terrible. What started out as paradise became purgatory. After this whole episode, he thought about it, and this is what he writes in the book. He's like, he realized that he was able to take 3 years of harassing schedule, but he couldn't take paradise for more than 7 minutes. It was torture. And he thought about it. Why? Why is it so hard for me to be with myself? You see, many of us have a problem relaxing. That was my problem, in hindsight, on Shabbos. We are so good at enjoying diversions, working, social media, watching, talking on the phone, gossiping, whatever it is, any activity that forces us to focus on what we're doing. In the bath, there was no diversions. There was no distractions. There was nothing to look at. There was nothing to read. There was nothing to listen to. And he realized that his intolerance of relaxation was his inability to be in his own company. He's like, wow, he's 38 years old, a practicing psychiatrist, and he just realized he doesn't like himself. And that's what led him on the journey of publishing all these books about self-esteem. Many people know Dr. Abraham Tversky from his work that he did on self-esteem, because that really is what blocked him, not liking himself, not having his healthy self-esteem from being with himself. Shabbos is a gift, but it's not magic. You see, it's Shabbos for everyone in this room every week. Now, some people, I have a feeling all of you are doing amazing. You're such incredible women, so let's not use this room. But for everyone, all Yidden, it's Shabbos. Some people are in a high. Shabbos, they light candles, they feel differently. It's like they're embraced with Hashem and they look forward to. Some people, okay, it's Shabbos, okay, we're going to serve. Some people, it's torture. It's the same Shabbos. It's all about how we feel on the inside. A lot of people think like, when I'm going to get this house, when I'm going to get this car, when I'm going to have this child, I'm going to be happy. We know it doesn't work that way, right? A house is not going to make you happy. A kid is not making you happy. And a car is not making you happy. A lot of people think the same when it comes to Mashiach. They think Mashiach is going to come and magic, fireworks, we're all going to be just perfectly happy and content. Mashiach is an avodah that we have to do here. Techiyas hamaisim is an avodah. Now I know this is deep because, why do I know this is deep? Because if I heard myself saying this 10 years ago, I'd be like, what is that? What is she talking? What is she saying? But I don't know about you. I know a lot of dead people walking around. We call them ausgelassen. They're doing everything. They're showing up for their kids' chasanas. They're showing up for what they need to do. But they're dead. They're blocked because they never did this healing thing that I made fun of before. And I heard Rabbi Lawrence Hajioff say this, and it just shook me. I am just saying it because I'm saying his name. I would never have the guts to say it with my name. This is what I heard. He said, somebody that cannot enjoy Shabbos will not enjoy Mashiach and Olam Haba. Olam Haba is called Yom Shekilai Shabbos. It's an avodah, ladies. It's an avodah to really remember who we are. You know, I made these 2 cookbooks, Lekuvot Shabbos Kodesh, and I spoke a lot about the physical, practical stuff that we have to prepare for Shabbos. And I remember after the first book, I got a message that said this woman was writing that she's married, and both her and her husband both grew up hating Shabbos. And then she did all this work, and Baruch Hashem, she's come to a place where she no longer hates Shabbos, and she's so grateful that now she has this book that she could help her, like, sort of like just bring everything to life. And now she has all the practical and all the, and she was thanking me for the book. And I was like, wow, that is the ultimate prep, the ultimate work that we can do Lekuvot Shabbos Kodesh. Imagine a woman doing her emotional work, Lekuvot Shabbos Kodesh. But I think there might be a need to make a 3rd book. But that's a big undertaking because it's so deep and it's so complex. And everyone has their own peckle, you know. Sometimes I share my story publicly. And afterwards, there's a lot of women coming over and they're like, I also have a story. I'm like, everyone has a story. The difference is some people, everyone has a peckle, right? Some people's peckle are see-through. Everyone sees them, right? Everyone knows it's like public challenges they're going through. And some people, it's not see-through, but everyone has a peckle. That's what we were sent down to do. The point is to just really recognize what needs to be done and really do it because it's not easy. So to enjoy Shabbos and to enjoy being alone, we really need a healthy sense of self. This is what the Baal Shem Tov was able to be in the woods for hours himself, except he wasn't himself, he was with Hashem. But we can only truly get to that yummy, loving, nurturing connection with Hashem when we are okay with ourselves, when we realize who we are. So this healing, it's not a cool, trendy thing. This is our tafkid. This is our Yiddishkeit. This is our Frumkeit. And that's what we have to realize, that this is what we have to do. It's not just for some traumatized souls or for some people that have a lot of extra time and don't know what to do with their time. I was listening to a guided meditation recently, and I heard this and it literally shook me because it's so true. It's a little harsh, but it's true. It was a guided meditation on anxiety. I was very anxious, so I was listening, and the meditation was really nice and nice music, and I was saying, like, everything's going to be all right, everything's going to be all right, and like all this stuff. And in the middle, this rabbi said, anxiety is the Yetzer Hara. And it's so true. It's so true. We think sometimes we suffer from panic attacks or different things and we're going to go heal. I like to call a spade a spade. Let's not call it inner work. Let's call it avodas hamidus. That's what we were sent down to do, to refine our character traits. I recently heard a clip on Instagram, and this was a non-Jew secular guy saying this. He said, worrying is thinking God is going to mess up. I was like, wow. Worrying is thinking God is going to mess up. And then he went on to talk about how we can't control things and we have to just have faith. And then whatever happens was meant to be. That's what God wanted. It says in Chazal, it says ma'oid, very. We have to really be careful with our soul and with ourselves. I just want to take a minute to talk about the difference, because I take it for granted, but I did notice that some women don't know the difference between confidence and self-esteem. I spoke the other day, and a woman came over, and she was like, were you always confident? And you always had self-esteem? I was like, no. I was always confident, but I didn't have self-esteem. So what's the difference in confidence and self-esteem? It is not the same thing. Confidence is, I believe that I can do this specific thing. I can bake, I can sing, I can dance, whatever it is, right? Self-esteem is, I believe that I'm inherently valuable and worthy regardless of what I do, regardless of the outcome. You can be the most confident person you could be on stage and sing and dance and speak. And then if you are in bed at night feeling like horrible, oh my God, yeah, they're all inspired, because if they would know, if they would see who I really am, if they would see how I'm screaming, I'm just like such a fraud, like a little bit of imposter syndrome, That's low self-esteem. And we can really see this when we look at the world at large, at all these celebrities. They have everything going for them. They look gorgeous. They're loaded. They have money till the wazoo. They have everything they need. They're popular. They're famous. And then we literally can watch them throwing their life away. They're on drugs and they commit suicide. Let me tell you something. If we had a healthy self-esteem, more people had a healthy self-esteem, we wouldn't have such a drug problem. It comes because people cannot be with themselves. They need to run away. They need to numb it. Let's be a little positive right now. This right here, women gathering together to take challah, this is ge'ila. This, and it's so incredible to see the world changing. Like it says before Mashiach is going to come, right? The whole world is going to have more awareness and be craving more spirituality and wanting things to make sense and wanting more for their soul. Goyim and Eden, everyone, right? So when I see, like, it's become so popular, there's Chassidish gatherings, challah bakes, healing circles, it's like, wow, it starts feeling like it's really going to happen, like we're really getting there. It says that in times before Mashiach, the world is going to be upside down. There's going to be instability in the government. There's going to be wars, but people will yearn for something higher. In Yeshaya, it says the earth will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, and the world is just going to have so much more awareness. And in Kabbalah and Chassidus, it says that the inner fractures of the soul and humanity will be healed as the divine truth and harmony is revealed. And now I just feel like I want to share about this month, Elul Tishrei, because I used to dread it. I did not want to think about it. I wanted to avoid it. It was very scary. Like, God is going to decide if I'm going to die, if I'm going to live. There's all this work I need to do, charuta and stuff. And it was just so heavy. And I knew I was not a good girl. And then I walked into school one day and there was like papers on everyone's desk, like big lions, because they wanted to scare us. Like, you have to be scared. Like, it was just like a whole nother mindset. But when I started healing and when I started learning Chassidus and the Chassidish blick on Tshiva and this time, it was like, so yummy suddenly. You know what Tshiva means? Tshiva doesn't only mean fixing. Tshiva essentially means returning. Returning to your essence. What is your essence? Who are you? You're a piece of Hashem. You're a part of Hashem. We all know in Malachi it says, Shivi alayvu shivu alaychem. Return to me and I'll return to you. And some people think like, okay, I'll take a step forward to Hashem, I'll do Tshiva, and then he's going to... That might be true, but there's just... when we learn the Chassidish interpretation of that, it's like when a Yid returns to Hashem, he reveals that he was never separate to begin with. It's one and the same. It's like a mirror. It's like returning to you means returning to Hashem. It's the same thing. And the Tanya in Gedas Tshiva says that Tshiva is not creating some new connection, but returning to the unity that was always there. So now I love doing Tshiva. Seriously. I love being closer to Hashem. There's just nothing to hate about it. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov talks about. Tshiva b'simcha. This is exactly what it means. I was in Florida the last 2 days, and on the plane I was listening to this new album from Baruch Levine. It's like a whole Elul Tishrei medley, beautiful, a lot of different songs. And one of the songs that was playing was Achashalti, but like the old Achashalti. Do you remember? Achashalti, the good old Achashalti. And I was thinking, like, this is really what it's all about. We know Achashalti me'ayis Hashem. One thing I ask from Hashem. Shifti b'vayis Hashem kol yemei chayai, that I dwell in the house of Hashem all the days of my life. Lachasayis b'noyam Hashem, to behold the pleasantness of Hashem. Ilavakar b'achulei, and to visit in a sanctuary. Now, we all think, what does sanctuary mean? The Beis HaMikdash. Or maybe, in our days, it means a shield, right? But some holy place. In Chassidus, when you learn Chassidus, you learn that the house of Hashem, b'vayis Hashem, is the inner space of divine awareness. It's in us, in our heart. And the Arizal writes that when David was saying this, David was just yearning for Devaikis, for just to be close with Hashem, to feel it. We all know about Hashem, but we want to feel it. We really do. And another interesting point about this pusik is that it says Levakar b'achulei. It says to visit, right? I don't want to visit. I want to reside there. Why does it say Levakar? Why does it say to visit? So this Fas Emes says because we want a renewal, a sense of renewal, freshness every day. We don't want to just be routine, out of road, and this is what we're doing, and now we're making challah for Shabbos, and now it's Shabbos, and now we're clearing the table, now we're setting the table, now we're clearing the table, and then we want to feel, we want to thrive. The thing about self-esteem is like this, that we naturally assume that whatever we see, whatever is our reality, is everyone's reality, right? When I see a car coming, right, I'm assuming that you see the car coming too. I'm not going to think like that my perception is distorted. And the same thing is with self-esteem. If I think I'm lazy and a shlamazel, I think that you think that too. I don't think that my perception is distorted. I'm like, I'm fat. Everyone sees I'm fat. Everyone sees I'm a shlamazel. Everyone sees I'm ugly. And that's so sad. Because Hashem can be pouring love and brucha and shefa and want to give it to us every single day. But if we don't feel worthy of it, we cannot receive it. And we block ourselves from so much in our own life, from receiving from Hashem, receiving from others when we feel like garbage. It is impossible to be a truly Erlicha Yid if you feel like garbage. Some people, never. Growing up, it felt more heilig, actually, to feel like I'm garbage because it's more anivistic. It's so much more humble, right? Can't be a big shot. I'm like nothing, right? I'm like, no, it's not true. It's really, really not true. It's just the Yetzer Hara. All those things are just the Yetzer Hara. We have to always remember that we are holy, that we are a chaylik l'kayim mimam mamish, because when we remember that, we walk around differently, we dress differently, we behave differently. We know that our words carry weight. Nobody has to tell us to dress sneezesdik. We automatically want to, we have a sense of responsibility, of dignity. We don't need any mitzvah from anyone. We automatically watch what we take in. We want to watch this. We want to protect our yummy, holy neshama. Everything changes. This is the foundation. When it comes to Rosh Hashanah and it comes to Tshiva, we want to come, crown Hashem as king, not as broken, pathetic human beings, but knowing our holiness and our worth. And when we know who we are, we become an unstoppable source of love that illuminates the whole world. When we know who we are, we love spending time with ourselves. When we know who we are, we love Shabbos. And we are one step closer to bringing Mashiach. Thank you so much for coming today.